early in the morning, and it is at 8 o'clock, and I am just about to board one of the most scenic train rides, and this is Bernina Express right here. And I'm just gonna go in and see how this train ride looks like. I am in Tirano. The Bernina Express is one of the most scenic train rides that you can ever go on, which is not just a train ride, it's a whole experience on its own because it goes through the most breathtaking journey that runs from Tirano in north of Italy to Chur in the eastern of Switzerland. This train crosses the heart of the Swiss Alps in just over 4 hours. This journey actually took us 4 hours and 15 minutes, and the journey was one of its own kind during the pre-summer because I don't do the cold, so I was here for the summer, pre-summer vibes I should say. And the journey winds down through two countries, that is Italy and Switzerland. And the train climbs over 2,200 meters, crosses 196 bridges and 55 tunnels, all without a cogwheel. Now, there are other trains that use this same track, so you can definitely use them. However, I had this on my bucket list and I really wanted to experience the hype of it and see whether it is definitely worth it. So stick around until the very end of this video to see whether this journey was worth it. And the part that makes this so incredible is that this train climbs steep alpine gradients only powered by smart engineering and gravity, and there are no tracks on it. It is no wonder that it has been named as a UNESCO World Heritage route, and once you see the views, you really truly understand why. Now, the other trains that run on this train track do not take their own time before, so you can enjoy the views, but you can always utilize them, and you can use other routes on the Bernina line to St. Moritz and even connections to the Glacier Express. But this stretch from Tirano to Chur or Chur to Tirano is one of its own kind, which is actually more popular with most people. So we started the journey in Tirano, which is a charming Italian town, which is about 2.5 hours by train from Milan. And if you're based in Milan or just visiting Milan, getting to Tirano is pretty simple on a train ride. And it's also possible to book a guided day trip that includes the Bernina tickets and continue on to St. Moritz. But I wanted the full experience, so it was just me, my camera, the tracks ahead, and just wowing along the journey. Now, this train ride usually gives you one of the most scenic, experiences, and they come in fast. And the one of the most unforgettable moments is the Brusio Spiral Viaduct. And this is a perfectly curved loop of track that lets the train gain height in a very small space. You see the front of the train ahead in very slow motion, which is so surreal, and it's almost like watching a toy train come to life, and this brings in your inner child. Now, as this train took the climb, you could potentially see that the scenery had shifted already from the Italian charm to full-on alpine drama, and we rolled over into villages, into sleepy cows grazing and minding their own business. Honestly speaking, the cows in Switzerland are something super special. Now, if you're thinking of taking this same train ride from Tirano to Chur, I would recommend that you sit on the left-hand side facing forward. And if you're taking it from Chur to Tirano, then sit on the right-hand side facing forward. Now, it is very difficult to actually tell the direction of the train when you're booking the tickets. However, on this particular journey, I chose seat number 42. I'm currently sitting on seat number 42 on the left-hand side facing forward, which gave me just the right amount of sunlight without too much glare from the glass windows. And the best of all, I actually had the entire 4-seat section to myself, which is not very common. There are so many people who actually take this train ride during summer. So if you're actually thinking of doing it, please book your tickets ahead of time. However, use your own judgment to see which seat to take on the website, because it's not indicated how the train is gonna go on the website. So if you want to steal my tip, you can take the seat number 42 if you are actually taking the ride from Tirano all the way to Chur. Now, it is important to notice also that this journey takes about 4 hours, so please bring your own snacks because you're gonna get hungry. Yes, there are snacks on board. However, you have to pay for them in CHF and not in euros. So if you're planning on taking this journey, I would highly recommend that you bring your snacks on board, and so you can have a comfortable journey. Now, this ride is one of its own kind because as we glided through, you could see that things have changed from winter and it's now pre-summer. There's no more snow and the mountains are now alive, and the greenery is one of its own kind. So if you are into nature, or if nature calms you down, then this is definitely a journey that you have to add on your bucket list, and especially during pre-summer or during summer. This would be one of the fantastic rides that you want to take. I definitely want to take this ride during winter, and perhaps I will choose the other trains that use this same track to do this journey. Now, this was me trying to go towards the front of the carriage to see whether it's possible to go from one carriage to the other, and it is very accessible. However, I think our carriage was much calmer as compared to the other carriages, and I also wanted to see the views on the right hand side, and I think the sun was glaring too much on the right hand side and the views were not as exciting per se. Yes, there were views on both sides for sure, but they were not as exciting as on the left hand side. So I would definitely 100% recommend staying on the left hand side if you're doing the journey from Tirano to Chur, so you can pretty much enjoy yourself. I would also like to mention that you could potentially also book a first class ticket. I booked a second class ticket because the seats are almost similar anyways, and you get to have the same type of treatment. However, depending on your pocket, you can choose to go on the first class. But I really didn't see much of a big difference between the first class and the second class, other than maybe the seat configuration and maybe whether the seats were as comfortable. But whichever the case, you choose, you do you, and see what works for you for sure. But this is one of the things that I noticed that several people who had also mentioned online about whether to take a first class ticket or a second class ticket but I do think that a second class ticket should be enough for this journey. Now, other trains also use this same track, which is what I was mentioning before. If you prefer to take just a normal train, then you can use this same route. Whichever the case, it really depends on which train that you're taking. The train that you would take, maybe the public train, might not take its time to go as slowly as the Bernina Express so that you can enjoy the scenery. Whichever the case, you would still see the same things. And especially if you have a Swiss pass, for example, if you're traveling within Switzerland, it is highly recommended that you take a Swiss pass. And if you're traveling within the EU on rail quite a lot, it is important to take an EU rail pass, and these two would give you a huge discount even on the Bernina Express. Whichever the case, you still do need to book your seat on the Bernina Express so you can take into account of the cost of this ride. This ride cost me 66 CHF, which is in Swiss francs, and I think it was definitely worth it. Whichever the case, again, depending on your travel plans, this is one of the things that you could definitely consider. Like I mentioned before, you really need to have your eyes peeled out on this whole journey, because the sceneries really just show up and then they are gone. Like just, this bridge where we just came across it, and within a very short period, the train moves and it is gone. And if you have not yet taken it all in, then, you will be like, I wish. But this is one of the things that I noticed on this journey, that the scenery comes and goes. And it was time for a treat, for a 15-minute stop in the Alp Gram. Alp Gram is one of those remote stations where the Bernina Express usually stops for people to pretty much just enjoy the ambience of the outside. Now, when we stepped out, all we could see were mountains, rocks, clear blue skies. Like, the air in this station is just on another level. And definitely was a photo moment for us, because having sat on the train for a bit of time, it was good to have a break and just observe the outside and see how things are in Switzerland itself. And there's just a bit of quiet in here that feels almost untouched. It is one of those places that you step outside and you feel that it is quite unadulterated, and you just wanna take it all in, take the air all in, take the vibes all in. The good thing is that it was sunny and it was so nice, because it was not snowy, it's not cold, it's not too hot, it's just the right amount of temperature. And this was one of the biggest treats on this journey. As we continued this journey, we reached the highest point of the journey, which is at Ospizio Bernina, which is about 2,250 meters above sea level. Now up here you could noticeably see that the snow was gone, but the lakes that are besides each other were obviously glowing. Now there are two lakes within this vicinity, the White Lake and the Black Lake, and you can see the big difference in the color of the water, which is not something that you could potentially see during winter, which is one of the biggest treats on this route, because during either pre-summer or spring, you can definitely tell the difference between these two lakes, but when it's winter it's obviously covered in snow and you can't potentially quite tell which is which. So this is one of the biggest pluses of this journey, especially during pre-summer, and I think I'm gonna do this journey once again during winter just to have an observation of the coverage of the snow. I would imagine that this would be all white and would give a very good backdrop of nature and how things change over time and how seasons change. This journey is one of those that really helps you to realize yourself that you just occupy a very small space in this world, and the least you can do is just take it all in and enjoy it as you go along your journeys. So this is one of those treats that if you're taking this journey during summer, you have to peel your eyes over it, and this is at 2,250 meters above sea level. And again, it's important to just notice the difference in the lake, color of the water of the lake. You even wonder why one is black. Maybe it's because it's deeper, it's darker, it's holding some secrets, who knows. This was almost 2.5 hours into the journey, and the crew came along with some chocolates, some Lindt chocolates, and I could not wait to taste Swiss chocolate for sure. This is one of the pluses again on the Bernina Express. They treat you to some chocolates, and this is complimentary. They are definitely covered by the ticket, and I could not wait to try them just because my excitement, my inner child, was very much alive in this journey, and the chocolates were definitely worth it. They were really, really tasty, and this is one of the things that you can expect along this journey, to just have some sort of small treats here and there. And it's a small gesture that you don't see on other trains, but it is definitely worth it. Look at that, they were shaped in a heart. How about that? And yes, I'm a chocolate girl, so yes, this was a plus for me. Now the crew also gave us some tea, which is also something that is tradition for the Bernina Express. They served us with tea, and this was one of those. I am a coffee girl. Whichever the case, I definitely had to try the tea. Well, it might not have been my biggest cup of tea, as they say, but it's just because I'm not a tea person necessarily. I do usually take tea once in a while, but I am definitely a coffee person. And this is another treat that you can expect. Now, there are other treats on this journey, and you can also pay for them, maybe if you want some breakfast, some snacks, etc. But always notice that this will be in CHF. They will be priced in CHF, and so you can do the math if you may and see where your budget leads you. Now, I know you might just be wondering, why should I take the Bernina Express and not any other regular train, pretty much utilizing the same tracks as the Bernina Express? One of the things that you will notice, perhaps I will convince you, I was also not convinced as well while I was booking this. I mean, it has been sitting on my bucket list for quite a long period of time, and I was like, is it worth it? Should I just take the regular train? But one of the things that you notice is that the Bernina Express, it has been ranked as a UNESCO World Heritage route, and I mean, there are definitely other routes across the globe that you will find that potentially could be more wowing for sure. However, if you want to enjoy Switzerland, which is one of its own kind, in any case, I do believe that Switzerland has a lot to offer in terms of scenery, in terms of nature, in terms of the calming nature of the country in itself. And this is one of the reasons as to why you should take this train ride. Now, if you also marvel at nature, then this is one of the things that you will definitely also enjoy on this ride. You will also enjoy the fact that this train, particularly the Bernina Express, usually takes its time to even stop in various places where you can take photos. It's also easy to just capture the moments as you go on the journey because it is one big glass. And the Bernina Express also climbs over 2,250 meters without a cogwheel. I mean, obviously, this is the same with other trains that would potentially be using this same track. However, it just relies on pure gradient, and then you can feel the gradient mastery as you go because it goes slowly and you can be able to see exactly how this gradient mastery goes on. Another thing is that it connects Italy and Switzerland, so you get to have a little feel of Italy and Switzerland for the biggest part, and it gives you two cultural experiences because you definitely have to go to Tirano. In any case, if you're taking Tirano to Chur, you can have a feel of Tirano for a few hours and then go all the way to Chur and have a feel of Chur as well. And both ways, both cities are very, very intimate cities, and you can easily take your time to enjoy the Italian culture as well as the Swiss culture all in one day, which is not very common. Now, another thing that you also pass by is the viaducts on this journey. They are iconic structures, the bridges, the tunnels, which is pretty interesting. The panoramic cars make up for this because at least you have a large panoramic window that is particularly designed for sightseeing, which is, unlike many other standard Swiss trains. I mean, almost all Swiss trains will have like panoramic windows and you'll be able to see pretty much everything. But this particular train, Bernina Express, is actually designed basically just for tourism. So in 4 hours, you get to have all this experience. And I think if you compare it with the Glacier Express, which is much slower, I do think that this gives you a bit of, the enjoyment of the sceneries, and it is not as slow when you compare this with the Glacier Express. Now, there are also like really interesting photos, places that you can, have and inside the train as well as outside. And I think I enjoyed this part of it, and I do believe that it is 100% worth it. I think especially if you have a Eurail, a Swiss Travel Pass, then you will see that it is covered by this, and all you need to do is actually book your seat. So I do believe that I am convinced that I could take this once again, as much as I was not as sure. But I do think that yes, the hype is for real. The hype is actually worth it. And the treats on board, as much as it's just a small gesture of chocolate and tea, is actually interesting to have, because not all trains usually have this. And the explanations along the way, there's a guide that tells you exactly where you are every single other time, and ensures that you understand what happened, the history and all these kind of things, which is not common with the regular train. So this is just to maybe convince you or not, whoever, depending on you, whatever you want to choose. But I do believe that it is worth it for me. And I could not even imagine that I was getting to experience this finally, after planning the journey and thinking and overthinking, and maybe the timing not necessarily being right. I actually chose to come from Tirano because I had a quick stop in Milan, which I think I should not have waited this long to have this moment. But when I had it, I was just like, yes, taking this all in. I was on a solo travel, and I couldn't help but observe pretty much everything that was around me. And this is one of those places, pinch me moments, when you're like, why have you waited for this for so long? But here we are. Let's take it all in and be very thankful that we can be able to actually see this in this moment. We soon began the descent from the 2,250 meters above sea level, and you could noticeably tell that we were definitely descending and going into another territory of forests and mountains and melted snow, which made up for the rivers, the springs, and there were more people along this journey as well. This part of the journey, you could see more people on foot and more people actually visiting this area, which is one of the reasons as to why it is one of the most popular places where people usually come to ski during winter. And this was another treat where we could now start seeing more life, and we could see the difference of where we've been from and where we were headed. And this was at hour number 3 or thereabouts, and you could tell that we were just 1 hour away from Chur, and now you could see the difference. because some of these areas along this journey are not places that people actually live. It's just the mountains, and there's nothing much that is going on. But there's also a difference where you begin to see more life, more villages, more houses, and you can tell the big difference in the terrain for which this train actually passes by. So it treats you to the greenery, the sceneries, and then the villages of how people actually live, which is why you actually get to see pretty much all the culture that is there to offer in Switzerland.
As we approached Chur, I couldn't help but notice how well this country has it going on for them in terms of the scenery, in terms of the well kept nature, in terms of just how fresh and crisp the air is, just how everything is. And I also pointed out one of the places that I potentially would be going to do a cable tour, and I will show you that in the next video. And one of the things that I would think about is, should I do this once more? 100% yes. I would highly recommend this train ride to anyone, whichever the case. If for instance you feel that a regular train would be more worth it for you, maybe you're short of time, or maybe you just don't necessarily want to go stopping, you want the journey much faster, 100%. If you also prefer going on the Glacier Express, that is much slower, then this is definitely something that you can do. And just go enjoying the scenery. There's a lot to see in Switzerland.
And especially if you are doing this journey, I would highly recommend making a few stops in Tirano as well as in Chur to just be able to see how people actually live. Chur is one of the oldest towns in Switzerland, and in fact, as much as there's not much to do, I did a cable tour which I will show you. I went all the way up to the mountains where people go cycling, which was very interesting because the air there is quite different, and I will show you that in a shorter video in the next a few videos. Now, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the nature part of it, I really tried my best to shorten it in 49 minutes or thereabouts. If you enjoyed this, then please give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel every single time I post maybe a travel video or any other videos. There are several other videos on this channel which could be helpful to you. So if you're thinking of doing this train ride as well, you don't have to worry about a visa because you can still use your Schengen visa to access this train ride, and you can access either Switzerland or maybe you flew into Milano and your passport was stamped, obviously, and you can access this train ride. Now, if you're thinking also of doing this during summer, I would highly recommend as well. I think also maybe during winter. I will try to do this during winter one of these fine days and see how this is. It could be obviously magical. The journey is 4 hours 15 minutes or 4 hours 30 minutes thereabouts. On the train, there are places where you can keep your luggage, so you don't have to worry about that, but just don't bring so much of big luggage. There is also a WC inside, just in case some people actually ask this stuff. And the thing is, it is a very well prepared and organized journey, and it keeps time for sure. So make sure that if you're planning on it, I would highly recommend you to arrive about half an hour before, so you can take it all in, you can settle down, because the scenes come in as fast as they can, and you want to enjoy every moment and you want to be ready for each and every one of it. Now, please go ahead and keep subscribed, share this video with somebody else who might be visiting Switzerland very soon, or if it is you who would be visiting, please leave me a comment if you are planning to do this journey, or if you're thinking of doing it in the future, or you've already done the journey. Please go ahead and comment down below, and I'll be happy to interact with you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, bye.